Hello everyone, welcome to MRU E-Learning powered by Malla Reddy University. Myself, Dr. Prashanti, Assistant Professor in the Department of Agronomy, School of Agricultural Sciences at Malla Reddy University. Today, I will be speaking about an important topic that connects sustainable agriculture, mechanization and environmental management, that is crop residue management. India is the second largest agro-based economy with year-round crop cultivation, which generates a large amount of agricultural waste, including crop residues. So, in the absence of adequate sustainable management practices, approximately 92 metric tons of crop waste is burnt every year in India, causing excessive particulate matter emissions and air pollution. Crop residue burning has become a major environmental problem, causing health issues as well as contributing to global warming. So, effective sustainable techniques like composting, biochar production and mechanization can help to curtail the issue while retaining the nutrients present in the crop residue. So, however, the alarming rise of air pollution levels caused by crop residue burning in the city of Delhi and other northern areas in India are observed in recent years, especially in and after the year of 2015, which suggests that the issues is not yet under the control. So, the solution to crop residue burning lies in the effective implementation of sustainable management practices with government interventions and policies. As we know, crop residues like paddy straw, cotton stalks are valuable resources, but they are often underutilized or even burnt, causing environmental and health issues. Managing these residues wisely can make a big difference in improving soil fertility, reducing emissions, and also promoting sustainable farming. So, this session is organized into a few key sections. I will discuss about the availability of crop residues, followed by crop residue management strategies, the role of smart mechanization and their implications, and finally conclusion. So, let's see. So, these are the crop residues. After harvesting any crop, we see some plant material left on the field like stalks, leaves, husk or even roots. So, these leftover parts are called crop residues. They can also come from pruning or processing or even after grazing. Many times, farmers remove or burn these residues thinking they are the waste, but actually they are a valuable source of organic matter. Okay, so when we remove these crop residues, soil fertility goes down because nutrients are lost and soil structure weakens. As a result, the next crop may not grow well and production decreases. That's why it's very important to recycle the crop residues. When we return them to the soil, either by composting, mulching or mixing them back through tillage, they improve the soil health. The organic matter from residues, it supports soil microbes, enhances nutrient cycling and also it holds more water. So, crop residues are not just byproducts. They are a renewable natural source of plant nutrients. By managing them properly, we can maintain the soil fertility, reduce the fertilizer dependence and also improve the long-term productivity. So, if you look at the pictures below, here you can see different forms of residues. Composted material, dry plant stalks, shredded residues. These can be used as a mulch and even bales of straw used for fodder or soil cover. We'll move to the next slide. Here, let us begin with the basic idea of crop residue. After we harvest a crop, some parts of the plant remain in the field. These include straw, stalks, stems, leaves and even roots that stay in the soil. So, these leftover materials are what we call the crop residues. All these unused or discarded plant materials also fall under the category of crop residues. So, crop residue, it refers to the non-commercial plant parts left behind after the harvest, and these residues, it can actually become a valuable resource for soil health and farming. So here crop residues are mainly divided into two types. First one is the field or harvest residues and second one is the processed residues. These field residues, these are the parts of the plants that remain on the field after the harvest, like straws, stover, stubbles, and hulls and leaves. So these are usually left standing or spread on the soil surface and can be plowed back to improve the soil fertility. The second type is the process residues, which come from crop processing activities. Examples include groundnut shell, oil cakes, cobs of maize, sorghum, as well as bajra. So these can be used as a fuel, feed, and also organic manure. So both types are valuable. So these residues, they enrich the soil, while processed residues are recycled for various forms that support the sustainable agriculture. Now let's look at why crop residues are so important. First of all, they are not the waste. They are actually a tremendous natural resource. Many times we see the residues being burnt or thrown away. But if you think about it, they had a lot of value for the soil and the next crop. So crop residues are an excellent source of organic matter and plant nutrients. So when we incorporate them into the soil, they slowly decompose and release the nutrients like nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. The same nutrients which we spend on through the fertilizers. So also when we add these residues, we are changing the soil environment. This encourages the beneficial microorganisms to grow. So these microbes, they help break down the residues and convert the nutrients into forms that plants can easily absorb. So the soil becomes more biologically active and fertile over time. And nowadays, with the increasing prices of chemical fertilizers and the decline in the soil health, recycling the organic residues has become even more important. By using what's already available on our farms, we can save the money, reduce the dependency on chemicals, and build long-term soil health. Organic recycling, it plays a key role in making agriculture sustainable. By returning these crop residues to the soil, we conserve the nutrients and improve the soil health naturally. So crop residues are also multi-purpose, like farmers use them for animal feed, soil mulching, preparing biomanure, thatching the rural houses, and even as a fuel for domestic as well as industrial purposes. So they have both environmental as well as economic value. Besides these uses, crop residues improve the soil physically, chemically, as well as biologically by supporting the beneficial microorganisms. When we talk about residue management, we are referring to the use of the non-commercial part of the crop. That means the parts left after the harvest, like straw or stubble, mainly for protecting or improving the soil. So instead of burning or removing these residues, crop residue management, it focuses on using them wisely. For example, they can be left on the soil surface as mulch to reduce the evaporation, to prevent the erosion, and also to add the organic matter. So crop residue management is actually a cultural practice. It involves fewer or less intensive tillage operations, meaning we disturb the soil less and leave the more residue from the previous crop on the field. So this helps to conserve the soil moisture, to reduce the erosion and improve the soil structure. If you look at the pictures below, you can see the residues left between the crop rows. This helps protect the soil and retain the water, while also providing the nutrients as the residues slowly decompose. So let's see why crop residue management is so important. Today, effective nutrient management means making use of all the available organic sources, like including the crop residues and farm waste. We can't depend only on the chemical fertilizers forever because there is already a nutrient gap. The demand from crops is more than what fertilizers alone can supply. In fact, fertilizer demand is expected to rise by 10 to 15 million tons in the near future. So we must look for alternative nutrient sources. This is where crop residue management comes in. By recycling the residues, we can supply the nutrients naturally, improve the soil fertility, and reduce the dependency on the costly fertilizers. So what is residue good for? So what exactly are the crop residues good for means they play a major role as a soil amendment. That means they help improve the physical, chemical and biological properties of soil. Residues enhance soil structure, making it more porous and also easier for roots to grow. They help in controlling the erosion by covering the soil surface and protecting it from the wind and rain. Residues also help regulate the soil temperature and support microbial activity, which drives the nutrient cycling, turning the organic matter into the plant available nutrients. So by covering the soil, residues also reduce the evaporation, improve the water holding capacity of the soil, which is especially beneficial in the dry land farming. Okay. Here, potential uses of crop residues. There are so many ways they can be utilized effectively. Instead of being wasted or burned, crop residues can be used as feed for livestock. For example, paddy straw or maize stalks are often used as a fodder for cattle. They have many household purposes in rural areas such as fuel or thatching material. Residues can be turned into compost, enriching the soil with organic matter and nutrients. They also support the mushroom cultivation where paddy straw or the maize cobs are the excellent substrates. Next, residues can serve as a biofuel, providing energy for the domestic or industrial use. Or they can be converted into the biochar, which improves the soil carbon content and fertility. So another major use is as surface mulch, covering the soil to conserve the moisture, control the weeds and reduce the erosion. Finally, when decomposed, crop residues become a natural source of plant nutrients, helping sustain the soil fertility. So crop residues can be managed in several other useful ways. First is through in situ incorporation. Residues are plowed back into the soil, improving the soil organic matter and fertility. They can be converted into compost, which adds the valuable nutrients and enhances the microbial activity of the soil. Residues also serve as the soil cover crops, helping in soil protection and maintaining the soil structure. They can be used for the green manuring, where residues or cover crops are incorporated to enrich the soil with nitrogen and organic carbon. So the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, Government of India, has estimated that about 500 million tons of crop residues are generated every year. There is a wide variability in the generation of crop residues and their use across different regions of the country, depending upon the crops grown, cropping intensity and productivity of these crops. So the generation of crop residues is highest in Uttar Pradesh, that is nearly 60 million tons, followed by Punjab, that is 51 million tons, and followed by Maharashtra, that is 46 million tons. Among different crops, cereals, it generates maximum residues, that is around 352 million tons, followed by fibers, that is around 66 million tons, and oilseeds 29 million tons, and pulses 13 million tons, and sugarcane 12 million tons. So the cereal crops like rice, wheat, maize, millets, it will contribute to 70%, while in this one rice group alone contributes 34%. Wheat ranks second with 22% of the crop residues, where fiber crops contribute 13% to the crop residues generated from the crops. So here this chart, it represents the state-wise potential of crop residues in India, both the gross, that is total, and surplus, that is usable amounts and their corresponding bioenergy potential. So here gross crop residue, it is shown by the blue bars, refers to the total amount of crop residue generated in a state. It includes both usable and non-usable portions. Next one is the surplus crop residues. It is shown by the orange bars. It indicates the portion of crop residue that remains unutilized and it can be potentially used for other purposes such as bioenergy production. Okay. So here also bioenergy potential, it is represented by the green line. It denotes the energy potential in hexajoules that can be derived from the surplus residues. So now we will interpret this trend, that is Uttar Pradesh is having the highest gross crop residue, that is 120 million tons. And also it is having the highest surplus crop residue, indicating significant bioenergy potential. Maharashtra, Karnataka and Madhya Pradesh follow this, and each contributing to substantially to India's total crop residue potential. Like southern and western states like Tamil Nadu, Gujarat and Andhra Pradesh, they show moderate residue potential. And the eastern and northeastern states like Assam, Tripura, Meghalaya, Mizoram and Sikkim, it exhibit very low residue potential corresponding to the lower agricultural intensity or smaller cultivated areas. So the green bioenergy potential line, it roughly mirrors the surplus residue trend, higher in agriculturally intensive states and declining sharply towards the smaller states. So here the crop residues like straws, stalks, husk or the byproducts of the agricultural production, their management determines the soil fertility, carbon cycling and energy resource potential. So the gross residue, it represents the biomass generation capacity, while the surplus residue, it reflects the untapped source or resource available for the bioenergy conversion, such as biogas, briquettes and bioethanol. So this chart highlights regional disparities in residue availability and potential, which can guide the policy decisions like biomass-based power plant locations, crop residue management strategies, and state-level renewable energy targets. So this chart overall, it effectively demonstrates that northern and central India, it dominate in the crop residue generation and bioenergy potential. In that one also, Uttar Pradesh is the leading state, followed by Maharashtra and Karnataka. So efficient utilization of these surplus residues in these regions could significantly enhance India's renewable energy portfolio while mitigating the residue burning issues. Overview of the crop residue generation and burning. So crop production in India is 723 million tons per year and the crop residue generated is 585 million tons, that is the leftover straw, stalks and husks after harvesting. In that one, the residue burnt is 151 million tons, which is nearly 26% of the total residue generated. This means 1/4 of all the crop residue produced in India is openly burnt, releasing massive amounts of smoke and pollutants into the atmosphere. So the intensity and distribution of burning here, the map in the center, it shows how the residue burning intensity varies across the India. Like in the northern states like Punjab, Haryana, Western Uttar Pradesh are shown in red and orange colors, indicating very high intensity of residue burning. And here central and eastern regions, it show moderate burning, while the southern states, here it is having the minimal or negligible burning activity. So these patterns align with the regions where rice and wheat are the main crops grown in the larger areas. Crop-wise contribution to the residue burning, here we can say rice has the highest contribution, okay, that is 36%, and here highest contributor is due to the large scale paddy cultivation in northern India. Here we can see in this inverted triangle. Okay, and also it is having the heavy use of the mechanized harvesting, which leaves behind the stubble. And wheat, it is having 24%, sugarcane 24%, which are the second and third contributors. And here maize and coarse cereals, these are minor but still notable contributors. And the next one is mustard, groundnut, and also the cotton. These are the minimal contributors. Okay, so together here we can say that rice and wheat residues account for about 60% of the total emissions, explaining why the Indo-Gangetic Plains faces the worst air pollution from the stubble burning. So here seasonal variation we can see in this right side. Okay, here in this winter, that is nearly 50%. It is a peak burning season, mainly from the rice residues after the Kharif harvest, that is in October to November. So this coincides with the severe smog and air quality deterioration in North India, particularly in Delhi and neighboring regions. And the summer, that is 48% burning of wheat residue after Rabi harvest, that is in April to May. And the monsoon, that is 2%, very low burning activity, as this is the main cropping season. Okay, so almost the entire year's emissions, 98% occur during just 2 seasons, that is summer and winter, making these periods critical hotspots of pollution. And here we can see the linkage to air quality and health. The top left part of the image here, it links residue burning to city air quality index, that is it worsens drastically due to the smoke and particulate matter. Okay, and also it shows health impact like increased respiratory illness, eye irritation, and also cardiovascular issues. So overall here we can interpret as India produces about 585 million tons of crop residue each year, and in that 151 million tons, that is 26% of it, is burnt in the open fields, releasing enormous amounts of smoke and also the particulate matter. So the intensity is highest in northern India, dominated by the crops rice and wheat systems, with peak emissions during winter and summer seasons. So these emissions are directly linked to deteriorating air quality and also public health hazards, making the crop residue management an urgent environmental priority. So crop residue management, it refers to how the farmers handle the remains of the crop. Like the goal is to prevent open field burning and instead use these residues in ways that benefit the soil health, livestock or industry. There are two main approaches like in situ management, ex situ management. In situ management means in the same place. In this method, the crop residues are managed within the field itself rather than being removed. So the main techniques involved in this are residue burning, residue incorporation, mulching and surface retention. So this is a traditional and easiest but most harmful practice, that is residue burning, because farmers burn the stubble to clear the field quickly for the next crop. However, it causes air pollution, nutrient loss and soil degradation. And the next one is residue incorporation. Crop residues are chopped and mixed into the soil using machines like rotavators or disc harrows. So this helps add the organic matter and also improve the soil fertility. Microbial activity also increases, soil structure and nutrient availability also increases. And next one is mulching and surface retention, that is residues are spread over the soil surface instead of burning or mixing deeply. So this acts as a mulch, reducing the soil erosion and also increases the moisture content in the soil. So it helps maintain a cooler microclimate and better water conservation. So what are the benefits of these in situ management means? It improves the soil health and organic carbon. It reduces the dependency on chemical fertilizers while preventing the air pollution from burning. And next one is here ex situ management, means outside the original place. Here we will collect the crop residues and transport it from the field to be used elsewhere in industries as fodder or for energy production. The main techniques involved are baling and removing the straw. Machines like bale collectors compress and collect the straw into the bundles, that is bales. Okay, these are then transported for use in bioenergy plants like for bioethanol or biogas. Okay, now also for the paper and packaging industries, for the cattle feed or mushroom cultivation, and it can also be used for composting. See, crop residues, they are biologically decomposed to produce a compost or manure. This can be returned to the field as organic fertilizer. So what are the benefits of this ex-situ management? Means it converts waste into the useful products like fuel, fodder, compost. It creates employment and income opportunities for the rural communities. It reduces the amount of residue left for the burning. Let's look at the adverse impacts of the crop residue burning. That is a major environmental concern in many agricultural regions. When farmers burn the residues like paddy or wheat straw, it releases huge amounts of smoke and soot particles into the atmosphere. Okay, and here it causes the air pollution. In fact, studies show that stubble burning contributes significantly to the air pollution in northern India, especially around Delhi. So each 1 ton of residue burned, it releases large amounts of carbon dioxide as well as carbon monoxide and sulfur dioxide along with the particulate matter that affects both human and animal health. So burning also causes a loss of valuable soil nutrients such as nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium and also sulfur. So the intense heat, it kills the beneficial microorganisms in the soil, leading to reducing the soil fertility. Over time, it results in soil hardening and erosion, making the land less productive. So the smoke here not only reduces the visibility, but also it triggers the respiratory and also the heart problems in the nearby populations. So this crop residue burning, it is not just an agricultural issue, it is an environmental and public health crisis. This figure shows the emission of different pollutants and greenhouse gases due to the field burning of crop residues and the contribution of different crops to the problem. On the left here, you can see that carbon monoxide, it forms the major share, almost 66% of the total emissions, followed by here non-methane volatile organic compounds and total particulate matter. It is smaller, but still significant emissions include like methane, nitrous oxide, sulfur oxides. Okay, so these gases contribute to the air pollution, climate change and also the health hazards. On the right side here, the chart shows that rice residue burning, it contributes nearly about 40%, followed by wheat, that is 22%, and sugarcane 20%, and crops like cotton, maize and jute, they make smaller contributions. So here this slide, it highlights some alternate crop residue management practices that can replace residue burning under major cropping systems. The first option here is retaining the crop residues as mulch or incorporating them into the soil. This helps improve the soil organic matter and also improving the moisture retention and reducing the weed growth. So crop residues, they can be effectively used in conservation agriculture, where minimal soil disturbance, residue cover and crop retention, okay, it helps improve the soil health and reduce the erosion. Lastly, residues can be converted into the compost, vermicompost or farmyard manure. These not only recycle the nutrients back to the soil, but also provides a valuable organic fertilizer alternative to the chemicals. So the crop residue here, it can be used as a compost. Like for preparing compost, crop residues are used as animal bedding and it can be heaped in dung pits. In the animal shed, each kg of straw, it absorbs nearly 2 to 3 kgs of urine, which enriches it with the nitrogen. So the residues of rice crop from 1 hectare land on composting, it gives nearly 3 tons of manure, which is rich in nutrients, same as farmyard manure. So the rice straw, it can compost, it can be fortified with the phosphorus using indigenous source of low grade rock phosphate to make it valuable added compost with the 1.5% of nitrogen, 2.3% of phosphorus, and also 2.5% of potassium. Okay, here after harvesting, instead of burning this leftover straw in the field, farmers can collect it by baling. These bales are easy to handle, store, as well as transport. The straw collected through baling, it can be used in many ways. It serves as like feed and also bedding for the livestock, as fuel, and even as a building material in the rural areas. It can also be used as bedding for vegetable cultivation and as mulch for orchards and other crops. So rather than wasting this valuable material by burning, farmers can make good use of it through proper baling and management. So in this method, the straw residues from the previous crop are left on the soil surface without any incorporation. That means we don't plow them in. They just stay on the top of the soil. So this layer of residues, it helps protect the fertile surface soil from both the wind as well as water erosion. It also helps in conserving the soil moisture. It also helps in the conservation of the soil moisture, improving the soil structure. So this method is especially common in the no-till method or conservation tillage. Here where at least 30% of the soil surface is covered with the crop residue. In this practice, that is crop residue incorporation, the crop residues are either completely or partially incorporated into the soil, usually by ploughing. This means that instead of burning or removing them, we mix them back into the soil. The above ground parts of the crop like straw, stubble are first chopped into smaller pieces. So these can be easily incorporated into the soil using a power tiller or any similar machinery. So the main advantage of this practice is that it increases the organic matter in the soil, it enriches the soil with the nutrients like nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. Compared to other management options, residue incorporation, it helps improves the soil health, structure, and fertility in the long run. So when we incorporate the crop residue, what are the advantages? So we are not just disposing of the waste, we are actually improving the soil ecosystem in several ways. First is the residues. It can help improve the soil aggregate structure. This means the soil becomes more crumbly and also porous, allowing the better air as well as water movement, which helps the roots to grow deeper and stronger. So this in turn, it will improve the microbial life in the soil. So when residues decompose, they provide food for the soil microbes, which play a key role in nutrient cycling and soil fertility. So next one is the residue incorporation. It helps retain the moisture and the locking of the nutrients within the soil. This is especially important in the dryland and rain-fed areas where every bit of moisture counts. The organic matter from residues, it acts like a sponge holding the water and nutrients around the plant roots. So it can also reduce the or absorb the residues or pesticides or the heavy metals from the soil. Now let's look at the another important approach in the crop residue management, that is biochar production through pyrolysis. We know that during photosynthesis, plants will absorb the carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and convert it into the biomass. After harvest, this biomass, it becomes the crop residue. Now there are two ways we can deal with this residue. If we burn this residue, it releases greenhouse gases, particulate matter and smoke, all of which contribute to the air pollution and global warming. But instead of this burning, we can use a process called pyrolysis, which means thermal decomposition of biomass in the absence of oxygen. This process produces biochar along with the syngas and heat. So what is biochar? It is a fine-grained high-carbon material produced through the slow pyrolysis process. The biochar we obtain is rich in carbon as well as nutrients. Biochar, it can be converted from plant biomass, so it contains a unique recalcitrant carbon which is resistant to the degradation. Therefore, it can be used as a carbon sequester, which enhances the water holding capacity, increases the cation exchange capacity. Over time, it also acts as a long-term carbon sink, helping carbon sequestration and greenhouse gas mitigation. So after paddy was harvested, the leftover stalks called stubble were often burned to clear the fields quickly. So these caused severe air pollution and soil degradation. So to stop this stubble burning, the government had created a plan to manage these residues in better ways. So here are some key facts in the last year 2024, that is in Haryana, around 38.8 lakh acres were under paddy cultivation in 2024. From this area, an estimated 81 lakh metric tons of crop residue was produced. So the government had planned different ways to handle all these stubbles. That is 33.04 lakh million tons is for in situ management, that is the residue is managed inside the field, and 25.39 million tons is for ex situ management, that is, it is taken out of the field and used in various industries. And the next one is animal fodder. That is, part of the residue was used as a feed for cattle. So the management method in situ means in the same place, like machines like straw choppers, mulchers, rotary slashers, they will chop the residue and mix it inside the soil, which in turn improves the organic matter as well as avoids the pollution. Ex situ means outside the field. Okay, here residues are collected and sent to some like bioethanol plants for fuel production, thermal power plants for energy generation, like for packaging, cardboard industries. Even using this stubble as animal feed, it also comes under this ex situ management. Next is here government support. The government is taking steps to help the farmers manage the stubble effectively, providing 90,000 machines for residue management, giving 1,000 rupees per acre to farmers for machine operations, paying transportation charges up to 15,000 to move the stubble to the industries or cow shelters. So this shows how policy is supporting the sustainable practices. Here, this shows the fewer farm fires. Here, this red graph, it shows how the approach is working. Like farm fires in Haryana, it has decreased from over 9,000 in 2018 to just 2,300 in 2023. That's a major step toward the cleaner air and better soil health. Managing the stubble properly not only prevents the air pollution but also turns the waste into a valuable resource with our cooperation. Now let's move on to the mechanical options for crop residue management. With the advancement of farm mechanization, several machines have been developed to handle the crop residues. Without the need for burning, let's start with the happy seeder. This is one of the most popular machines, especially in rice wheat cropping systems, because it allows direct sowing of wheat into the standing rice stubbles while simultaneously cutting as well as spreading the residue as mulch, which helps retain the soil moisture and improve the soil health. Next is the Rotavator. It's mainly used for chopping and incorporating the crop residues into the soil. So this mixes the residue well in the upper soil layer, which helps in faster decomposition and nutrient cycling. Then we have the zero-till seed drill. So these equipment enable sowing of the next crop without any prior tillage. It saves time, fuel, and also preserves the soil structure, leaving the crop residue on the surface for protection. Another useful machine is a baler. It collects and compacts the straw into bales that can easily be transported and used as animal feed, bedding material, or bioenergy production. And the next one is paddy straw chopper. So it chops the leftover paddy straw into small pieces and spreads them evenly across the field, which can then be incorporated or it can be used as a mulch. Finally, here it is a reaper binder. So this machine, it cuts and binds the crop simultaneously. So it is easier to collect and handle the residue for other uses like for composting or fodder. Here are some machines. Okay, 3 important types of machinery we can see here, that is efficient straw management, that is straw chopper and straw management machinery, and the straw baler. So here the straw chopper, it is mainly used to cut or chop the leftover stubbles into smaller pieces after harvesting. So the chopped straw is spread evenly over the field, which helps in faster decomposition when incorporated into the soil. It also makes the field ready for the next operation like sowing or ploughing. So next we have this straw management machinery. Its function is to collect and arrange the chopped residues into rows or windrows. So this makes it easier for the balers or other machines to pick them up efficiently. So it also helps in clearing the field quickly without the need for burning. Here is the straw baler. Once the residues are collected in rows, the baler compresses them into compact bales that are easy to handle, transport as well as storing. So these bales, it can be used for various purposes like for animal feed, even as raw material for bioenergy production. Now let's talk about decomposers, an important component in residue management on organic farming. So these decomposers, it help in the quick breakdown of the crop residues, converting them into organic matter that enriches the soils. So the process shown here is for the mass multiplication of the decomposers. This is developed by the National Center of Organic Farming, Ghaziabad. This method is very simple and farmer friendly. First, we take the 2 kg of jaggery and dissolve it in a plastic drum containing 200 liters of water. The jaggery here, it serves as a food source for the microorganisms, beneficial microorganisms. Okay, so next we add about 20 liters of decomposer culture to this jaggery solution. After that, we mix it thoroughly using a wooden stick to ensure uniform distribution of the microbes. Then we cover the drum with the paper or cardboard or any breathable material to protect it while still allowing some air exchange. So it's important to stir the mixture once or twice a day, which helps in maintaining the microbial activity as well as oxygen flow. After about 5 days, the solution becomes creamy in texture, indicating successful multiplication of this decomposer culture. So this ready decomposer can be used for spraying on the crop residues in the field or for compost preparation. This helps in faster decomposition. It reduces the pest incidence. It improves the soil fertility naturally. So in short, this is a low cost, eco-friendly as well as effective technique which supports the sustainable agriculture. So to tackle the issue of stubble burning and promote sustainable residue management, several policies and authorities have been set up by the Government of India. First, we have the National Policy for Management of Crop Residue 2014. So this policy was introduced by the Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare. So its main goal is to promote the scientific management and utilization of these crop residues. It emphasizes mainly on the in situ management, that means using the residues in the field itself, and also supports ex situ uses like composting, bioenergy, and mushroom cultivation. And the next one is the National Green Tribunal in the year 2015. So it plays an important role in regulating and monitoring the environmental violations related to residue burning. It has directed several state governments, particularly Punjab, Haryana, Uttar Pradesh, Delhi, to take strict measures against this residue burning and promote alternatives among the farmers. Then comes the environmental, that is Environment Pollution, that is Control and Prevention Authority. It was set up under the Environmental Protection Act to monitor and enforce the pollution control measures in the National Capital Region. So it works closely with the state governments and also the central agencies to minimize the air pollution caused by these crop residue burning. So here this is a significant scheme, that is the promotion of agricultural mechanization for in situ management of crop residue. So it covers the regions like Punjab, Haryana, Uttar Pradesh and the National Capital Territory of Delhi. So under this scheme, farmers and custom hiring centers receive the financial assistance and subsidies to purchase the machinery like happy seeders, rotavators and straw choppers. The main objective is to encourage the farmers to manage the residue in the field itself rather than burning it. So overall, these interventions from policies to machinery support show that government's comprehensive approach towards reducing the stubble burning, protecting the environment and improving the soil health. Here, implication. Now let's discuss the implications of this crop residue management, especially in the rice wheat system. While residue retention has many benefits like improving the soil health, reducing the erosion, it also comes with certain challenges. First, there are difficulties in sowing and application of fertilizers and pesticides. When residues are left on the surface, the leftover straw can clog the machines and it interferes with the seed placement, leading to poor germination and uneven crop stand. So it can also create a favorable environment for the pest infestation. So this system, it requires more precise management, especially regarding the timing and the placement of the nutrients, pesticides and irrigations. So farmers need to plan more carefully to ensure the proper nutrient availability and pest control. So here weed control, it becomes a major bottleneck in the rice wheat system. When residues are left on the field, weeds often thrive, making it harder to control them with the traditional methods. So due to this weed and pest pressure, farmers may resort to excessive use of the chemical herbicides, so which can create an unhealthy environment and can affect the soil microflora. So the nutrient management here, it becomes more complex because of the higher residue load. Because the decomposition process, it temporarily ties up the nutrients, especially nitrogen, making them less available for the next crop. And also there is a loss in basal application of nitrogen fertilizers at the time of seeding. The residues here, they will absorb or block the fertilizer or reduce its efficiency and can also increase the risk of environmental pollution through gaseous loss or leaching. So finally, here the system requires specialized equipment for fertilizer placement like sowing through residues and machines like happy seeder, zero till drills and rotavators. So these all are essential, but these add to some cost of cultivation, especially for small and marginal farmers. So to manage these weeds in conservation agriculture, farmers often rely more on the chemical herbicides. So this increased dependency on the chemical fertilizers or herbicides lead to the pollution and environmental hazards affecting both soil health and biodiversity. So this approach requires good management skills. Farmers need to understand the timing of operations, proper calibration of machines, and integration of the residue handling with nutrient and weed management. There is an apprehension among the farmers about getting the lower yields or reduced economic returns in the initial years by adopting this conservation agriculture. But the benefits are often long-term, which may discourage immediate adoption. So, there are also institutional and attitudinal barriers. Some farmers have a negative perception about leaving residue on the surface, associating with the poor field management. But many farmers still now, they are preferring the clean and tidy fields as opposed to the untidy look of the residue covered fields. So this cultural mindset, it makes adoption more difficult even when the scientific benefits are proven. So to conclude our discussion, as we have seen throughout this presentation, crop residue management, it plays a vital role in achieving the sustainable agriculture with shrinking land resources and increasing pressure to feed a growing population. So it's important that we make the best use of every bit of natural resource while protecting our environment. The use of improved machinery like the happy seeder, zero-till drill and straw chopper along with some biological approaches like decomposer application have proven to be very effective in managing these residues. So these methods not only reduce the need for burning but also it improves or reduces the greenhouse gas emissions. When residues incorporated, they improve the beneficial microorganism and also the decomposition becomes faster. On the other hand, residues are retained on the surface. They act as a natural mulch, conserving the soil moisture, reducing the weed growth, and also protecting the soil from erosion. So in the coming decade, the focus should be on producing more food from limited land through resource efficient and climate smart practices. With the right combination of technology, biological inputs and awareness, residue management can truly transform the sustainability of our agricultural systems. Thank you.